17. Looks like the Mockingbird media is out in full force along with the deep state operatives after yesterday's report of the Marines being at Langley. As you can see by the comments section, when you're right, those who want to try and misinform the public pounce on you from every direction. If they don't, then it's probably total BS. We have had others confirming what we know and stepping forward to say they've also seen the Marines at Langley. That being said, some of you have questions about why President Trump would call for them to be there. Last week on 4chan, Q Clearance, who we believe is close to the president, posted about rogue CIA operatives who had tried to stage a coup against the Trump administration and also to look for some sort of false flag in various locations around the country to detract from what they're really going to be doing. It's similar to what happened in Las Vegas when the Mandalay Bay shooting happened. Saudi Prince Al Waleed bin Talal admitted to Malaysian attorney Matthias Chang that he had sent snipers to the floors above Stephen Paddock's room the day of the Route 91 festival. You can see the email exchange on this Twitter feed, which confirms that story. This new information also supports concert video and eyewitness accounts of more than one shooter at that location. Mainstream media refuses to tell the truth on these stories, most likely because of the mass hysteria of liberals who refuse to believe anything but the lies and watered-down versions of events put out by those mainstream media outlets. They are being controlled by liberals. This is exactly what the Mockingbird media of the 60s and 70s did to the people, indoctrinated them to thinking one way while blaming others and creating distracting events to hide the criminal activity of government operatives who want to destroy our country and control the people. In just the past week, President Trump has given several speeches which he dropped various clues. He used the term strategic patience, and Q on the back channels put the word risk in brackets. One very intelligent viewer pointed out risk may be a reference to the game of Risk, which, if you think about it, could actually be the case. President Trump is a graduate with honors of the New York Military Academy. Since he has an IQ in the top 3%, it stands to reason he would use his military training to surround the enemy and crush them. This brings us to the next phrase President Trump used, which was, "The storm is coming." And that was a direct reference to Q and the back channels. Whoever Q is, he is definitely in the inner circle of the president. Then there was the press conference about MS-13 and the warning he sent to Fiji Water about his knowledge of their connection with the child trafficking rings run by pedophiles in both the gang and high-level government positions. All of these things were placed strategically on 4chan for us to reveal to the public. These boards are not private, and Q knows that. He also knows the mainstream media will refuse to report the information and is relying on us to do it for him. We can take the information we get from Q and try to confirm these things as best we can. These are warnings for us, and I believe they are coming through Q to keep us, who are true patriots, and those of us who know what's going on behind the scenes in the government safe. We already have seen the liberal media out the FBI informant who is set to testify before Congress tomorrow about the video he has of Russians with briefcases full of money ready to bribe the Clintons before Hillary approved the sale of 20% of our uranium to the Russians when she was the Secretary of State. It was completely irresponsible of Reuters to use the name of the informant. Basic journalism says you don't make reports that can get people killed. Hopefully this informant will be able to make it through the night in order to present his testimony tomorrow. Here's what's really going on here. President Trump has strategically placed people throughout the rogue and booby-trapped government, which is left deliberately by Traitor 44, to infiltrate. And he has surrounded the enemy within. When these infiltrators have been standing before you giving press conferences, they've said what they wanted the liberals to hear. As such, it's been a little puppet show for the media and traitors within the government, put on by the Trump administration for the entire world to see so they can be witnesses when all of the things that are happening are going to be revealed. The manipulation and deceit orchestrated by the administrations prior to the Trump presidency and honed in by Traitor 44 and Hillary Clinton is so massive. In order to defeat them, you have to use strategy. It may not be as quick as you like, but it is happening. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, the mainstream media already knows this stuff. They know exactly what, who, when, and where these things will happen, which is why they're already able to get the video quickly, and they conveniently just happen to be in the right location at the right time. There are always informants, and there'll always be informants. The deep state is about to be taken out, and they are going to extremes to keep their foothold. If any of you have any information regarding events around Langley, information which you think is pertinent to the postings and warnings of Q, any activity that would reveal the crimes of the deep state and expose these criminals, please contact me with this information. You can remain anonymous. I am not Reuters, but we need to be able to verify the sources for our own reporting. Please be safe, fellow. Landed at Langley last night, and we have confirmed this with our sources who are near there. I can also tell you at this very moment, not one mainstream media outlet is saying anything about this. According to my friend and researcher Tom, who's a former paratrooper, these units are deployed because something big is about to happen, or it's for a show of force. He was deployed to Nicaragua back in 1989 and said it took them approximately 5 minutes to overtake the airport there. It wouldn't be difficult for the Muse to do the same if necessary in the D.C. area. After a bit of discussion and taking a look at Q's warnings from the last week, we believe President Trump is ensuring he's not overrun by a coup of rogue CIA operatives who we've been told are staging something really big in the next week, and we've warned you about this before. We believe they are in Langley to protect President Trump and also to make a show of force under the direction of Trump and his generals, in particular General Mad Dog Mattis. If North Korea was a bigger threat right now, this unit would still be in California and headed toward Guam. Also, just a couple of days ago, President Trump was talking about MS-13 who are being rounded up and arrested all across the United States. As he was speaking, reporters and some audience members noticed the bottle of Fiji water he opened and drank from. It wasn't the fact President Trump drank from that bottle. Newsweek ran a story about using 2 hands rather than 1 hand and deflected from the real issue, which was sending a message to the owners and makers of Fiji water. President Trump was just opening the bottle and a stern stare into the camera was telling the Resnick, owners and operators of Fiji water, and heavy donators to the Clintons and their money laundering foundation, better known as the Clinton Foundation, that he knows about their child sex trafficking and he intends to take them down. This was during the news conference about MS-13. So while Newsweek literally ran a story about the president's hand size and used terminology within the article itself, which was meant to be derogatory and demeaning, they completely skipped the part where the manufacturer of Fiji water are part of the Clintons and the MS-13's connection, assisting in the trafficking of children into slavery and for murder. It was also confirmed yesterday by Judge Jeanine on Hannity that Hillary Clinton is worried about the Uranium One investigation because her demeanor was very different and she wasn't trying to be funny like she usually does. She looked very tired and disheveled while being interviewed. We also noticed she was using the same talking point she's been pushing for the past 3 years, trying to downplay her role in the scandal as if there is nothing there. However, Peter Schweitzer, author of the book Clinton Cash, is very clear where the money came from and where it went in the Uranium One deal. It was both Hillary and Bill who orchestrated the sale of the uranium to the Russian company. Get the book. It's in Chapter 3. You can also watch Clinton Cash, the documentary, by clicking the link below. And if you're a liberal and still in favor of Democrats, watch Dinesh D'Souza's movie, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party, and you'll understand completely what's going on with all of these indictments, why Hillary's nervous, and how the Democrats are falling apart. Basically, it's inevitable that people will revolt against a corrupt leader. It has been this way ever since history began, and we're seeing it right now before our very eyes. Many of you are very impatient and have been waiting a long time for vindication when the Democrats have had literally years since their inception. It isn't overnight you can take down this massive global crime network. Hillary Clinton has had since her college days to follow Saul Alinsky's plan to infiltrate and destroy the government from within. She's the person who perfected Alinsky's and Trader 44's plans. It was she who figured out how to gain power and money. She is the orchestrator and mastermind behind everything we see collapsing around her. This is why Hillary, not Bill, is the big fish that will be taken down to a tiny minnow. For all of you who think this isn't the case, let me point out a few things. Although we've seen photos from October 16th of Hillary with a boot on her foot, she said it was a broken toe. The boot isn't what they use for a broken toe. In fact, the way to fix a broken toe is to tape it to another or do nothing at all. However, it's very plausible the boot is to cover a GPS device which would set off alarms if she were coming and going from certain areas. That boot could possibly have some sort of lining to ensure no alarms are set off but still have the capability of tracking her. I find it interesting we still have those who are doubting the reality of Attorney Jeff Sessions' work and his department, who just yesterday admonished judges that they will obey the laws and they will stop going against our Constitution, or they will be facing the wrath of the Department of Justice. All of these latest events stem from the American conservative patriots who voted for a strong president who's doing exactly what we asked him to do. The dominoes are falling, and just like I said in a few reports.
Now they're using that to flush out who, because once they start leaking bad info, they know exactly where it's coming from. People in the mainstream media, there's going to be heads that are going to roll on that too. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to start having to pay the piper, so to speak. You know, like that judge over in Hawaii who's constantly throwing roadblocks up. Yeah, all these unconstitutional judges are going to be the ones that are going to get taken out. So that's going to be the start. Then it's going to leak on down to the prosecutors. Once it gets past the prosecutor level, then it's going to be some high-level police. And that's when shit is going to hit the fan. Because we're going to start seeing so many indictments rolling in. Because once these people start getting these indictments on them, they're going to roll over. They're just going to just fold up and just roll over. Now, some of the chatter on 4chan here, all over the place. Some of it, though, is really starting to piece a lot of really on the good stuff, which we already knew. But, you know, another one is Elon Musk. And they're really starting to look hard at him, too, now. So it looks like Elon's going to be put under the microscope. I mean, how did this guy get so rich? You know, a lot of times the CIA, they could be white hats, they could be black hats. They could go rogue and go the other way on their own handlers. So you just never know. But it's like Facebook. Yeah, he's been bought. There's no way Zuckerberg is not part of the CIA scam that they have on the people that are able to post anything you want without being censored. That's total bullshit. They're control everything that's coming out. Satanic pedophiles, like I said, y'all can go and read or go listen to 2,200 Marines that stormed the CIA. And listen to that video, and you get to hear the other half of Keanu Reeves talking about, and this is a column, I just read the column. Keanu Reeves went over to one of these moguls' houses, and they were talking about drinking blood, opens the fridge up and has two dead babies, one in the fridge. And Keanu Reeves breaks the dude's nose, busts a lot of crap in his house, calls the cops, and the cops don't do a damn thing. They act like he's crazy. Well, if you believe that shit, that the that the cops are just not going to do anything, you're correct, because they're in on it. If you don't believe Keanu Reeves, I mean, why would he make that shit up? He's living overseas now. Company making motorcycles. He wouldn't make this stuff up. That's kind of like a death threat. I mean, he can't even come back to the United States. People in this pedophile mafia would just happen to have get suicided, where you get 2 bullets in the brain and you shot yourself twice committing suicide. Yeah, that shit don't work, right? So now you're starting to see that a lot of these people that came out are bailing out of the country because they know it's unsafe for them right now, because they got such high exposure and such immediate clout that if they start saying anything, they will have millions of people watching. And that is another thing. I just happen to be sitting